He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again. Tagovailoa trying to pick up one. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown, Dolphins! Beautiful day to be a Dolphins fan. Let's go!
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, I'm gonna have to go back and edit that intro, and edit a whole bunch of this stuff. So we'll fix that all up. I don't know why my audio wasn't being picked up, but all right. I guess we'll do it through my AirPods today. All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. Obviously, the Miami Dolphins, they went ahead. They added some edge rusher help. They obviously canceled practice open to the public today. So we're going to talk about it all here, all right? I got a lot to cover, a lot to cover here for you guys. So let's not waste much time. Let's hop into everything, all right? So let's start off with this. Let's start off with Matt Judon, because it's going to be, looks like it's going to be an episode where it's me and Bobby Schaus against the legacy media a little bit here. So we got a lot to discuss, all right? So let's get into this. Let's start off with Matthew Judon. So yesterday, the Miami Dolphins, they went ahead and they added Matthew Judon to their roster, agreeing on a one-year contract worth a max value of about $6 million. I know a lot of people are worried for a few reasons here. One, is this because of the injuries to maybe Chop or Jalen Phillips being a little bit more serious than we had originally been led to believe? I think this is purely a depth move, kind of similar to what Calais Campbell was last year. Now, if you know Chris Grier, you know he's been chasing Matthew Judon for quite some time, right? He's been chasing Matthew Judon for a while here to come to Miami. So I'm going to be completely transparent with you. That didn't really shock me. Now, I will say this too. Let's go into it a little bit deeper. I do know you guys were given a little bit of misinformation, surprise, surprise, by the media. Now, I know Barry Jackson, he tweeted out yesterday something to the effect of that Matthew Judon, that whole situation with Matthew Judon was basically, well, he's coming down here and there's no agreement in place and da-da-da-da-da. Well, I know that's kind of partially untrue. From what my understanding is, talking to people behind the scenes, is Matthew Judon came down to Miami with the full intent of signing because basically the bones and the structure of the contract had pretty much already been laid out. This is why they spent a little bit more time yesterday negotiating, was they're basically fine-tuning the details of the deal. But from what I understand and from what I was told, Judon and them had basically agreed on a lot of the outlines of the contract, and that's why he came down here with the full intent to sign a deal. Full intent. He had full intentions to sign a deal. So I know that kind of counters a little bit of the narrative, but that's what I was told regarding Matthew Judon, that he came down to Miami knowing he was about to sign a deal. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. All right, so that's what we know about Matthew Judon. Now, in terms of the actual signing, listen, I don't expect Matthew Judon to be out here taking on a massive amount of reps. I just don't. All right. So, you know, we're going to figure it out. But, I think he's going to be a contributor. I know everyone, well, Matthew Judon, he's past his prime. He's 32. Yeah, but we're not looking for a guy who's going to take on 1,000 snaps. Right? Well, he's 33, sorry. He just turned 33 a couple of days ago. We're not looking for a guy who's going to take on a massive amount of snaps and just eat up a ton of snaps for the Miami Dolphins. And I think when you look at the versatility he's going to have across that front, I think it's very, very interesting. It's an interesting addition. It's an intriguing addition. It makes sense. So personally, I actually don't hate this move. I'm actually a fan of this move. All right. I think people are just looking for something. And remember, people are just looking for something to complain about. But remember, people, all right? Remember, did they or did they not try to add Joey Bosa? Why did they try to add Joey Bosa? Why did they try to add Joey Bosa? We all know why they tried to add Joey Bosa. And that's a guy who you could sit here and say, well, he's beyond his prime. He's no longer in his prime. That guy's like a perfect example of someone you could sit here and say, well, he's beyond his prime. That's just, I don't know what else to say. Right? We all thought he was a guy that just didn't make a ton of sense when you look at the grand scheme of things, but clearly Matthew Judon, he is now who they are going to be, who they're going to be relying on for their veteran on the edge. And let's be real here. With the amount of injuries that this team has had, all right, specifically at the edge position, I don't know why anyone's mad. I don't know why anyone's hurt about that. I don't get it at all. Now, is Joey Bosa better than Matt Judon? Yeah, probably. In their primes, you would say that Joey Bosa is better than Matthew Judon, 110%. But, let's be real here. Are we expecting a difference maker with Judon? No, we're expecting a contributor. So I get why some people might be turned off by the addition. But, yeah, looking good with the palm trees behind me, but not the landscapers making all that racket. But, we are not looking for a difference maker. We are looking for a contributor. And if he ends up being a difference maker in the long run, then so be it, right? Then so be it. So we are just looking for a contributor right now. That's all we're looking for, right? That's it. So, I don't get why everyone is so worked up. Let me try something here for a sec. People need to relax a little bit here. People need to relax a little bit. This isn't Matthew Judon from, 4 or 5 years ago. We just need a contributor with the guy, and that's what we're going to get. Now, what's interesting is the ripple effect it's going to have on, like, Grayson Murphy and Derek McClendon, because Matt Judon right now, you would sit here and you would say he's a better run defender than those two, right? Like Grayson Murphy, he had a couple, he had 1 or 2 run stops, but for the most part, he pretty much gets washed out against the run, right? Doesn't have ideal arm length, that's for sure. And, so it's very interesting to see how fans are reacting to this. It's just being over the top. We're looking for a contributor. We're not looking for a difference maker. That's it. And now I know the first question people are going to have, why aren't they adding corner help? Well, we know what the deal is. With Rasul Douglas, the money ain't right for Rasul Douglas. That's why he's not here. So, we'll see. I still think, Grayson Murphy and McClendon do have a shot to make the 53. But Matthew Judon definitely throws a wrench into that situation for sure. So, and let's be honest, next to quarterbacks and cornerbacks, the next most important position are edge rushers because you got to be able to get to the quarterback, right? That's why they get paid so much if you can get to the quarterback. So personally, I think Grayson Murphy is going to be the one that gets slid to the practice squad, and I think Derek McClendon's probably going to make it over him, just because of certain traits like the arms and just certain things that Grayson Murphy needs a lot of work on. I would put my money on McClendon making it over him. All right? So that's that. Now, let's keep it going here. All right? I want to talk about something because it's all over X. It's blowing up. And, you know, we kind of have a little bit of a battle of the sources right now on X right now. But before I get into that, let me address this because I see it in the chat. Jalen Phillips is not going to get traded. If you want to hear my theory on it, I'll tell you what my theory on the situation is. I don't think Jalen Phillips is going to get traded. If they are going to trade someone, this would be my feeling, and this is just based off of, you know, not anything I've heard specifically, but things I've heard over time and stuff we've seen publicly. I think they would trade Tyreek if they were going to go after a big name corner. I think Tyreek would bring higher return than Jalen Phillips, who can't stay healthy. I think that's 110%. You're going to get a better return with a Jalen Phillips. With a Tyreek Hill over Jalen Phillips. But what also is, it's that funny with me since heading back to the end of July when I covered it. The whole thing about Jeremy Fowler coming out and saying what he said about Tyreek always struck me as odd. All right? Now, what struck me as odd about it was this. If you go and listen to the report, whether you want to go find it or whether you go back and watch the video where I talked about it, what never made sense to me was, teams are monitoring the Tyreek Hill situation, but they've been told all offseason Tyreek Hill isn't to be had for trade. He's not available in trade. How much sense does that make? If you are being told by a team he's not on the trade block, why would you continue to monitor the situation? It makes zero sense. It makes zero sense to me when you break it down. So, to me, it's just, I don't know. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. When you look at the situation, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. Right? Like, I don't know. Someone explain this to me. Why teams would continue to monitor a situation when you're being told he's not available. So you would turn around and walk away. Now, I don't think they're going to trade either one of these guys. I don't think anyone's going to get traded right now. Could he be traded? Sure, anything can happen. I mean, the rapture could come tomorrow for all we know. But it just doesn't make any sense when you break it down. So that's personally where I'm at. I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be, I don't think there's going to be any trade at all, but if there is going to be a trade, I think it's much more likely you're going to see Tyreek Hill move than Jalen Phillips. So, I don't know. Again, I don't see a trade happening, but if one was to happen, Tyreek Hill makes more sense. Now, let's get into the stuff that's swirling, and I'm going to tell you everything I know, everything I've heard, et cetera, et cetera. All right? So, I tweeted this out a while ago, about like 12:51, 12:50, something like that. I went ahead and I tweeted out this picture. Let me show you what we had here. All right. So I tweeted this out. I tweeted out this picture of Asante Samuel staring up at the sky, right? About 3 minutes later, the homie, Bobby Schaus, from the Dive Bar, go follow the Dive Bar if you want. Go check them out. He tweeted out, Asante Samuel Jr. is visiting with the Dolphins today per source. And he said Miami could be adding some much-needed cornerback help. Then, after that, Asante Samuel Sr., Asante Samuel Jr.'s father, retweeted Bobby's tweet about Asante Samuel Jr. His own father retweeted it. Remember? This is the guy who, he's not a fan by any stretch of the imagination of the Dolphins, but the tune's been changing over the last couple of weeks. Now, since I've tweeted out, since Bobby has tweeted out, we've seen a campaign from the legacy media. All right? And some of the things we've seen, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's funny to me. It's real funny to me. Okay? Because I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to be completely honest. Between YouTube, Twitter, and my Patreon, me and Bobby have broken more inside information and broken more news than some of these people coming out and claiming league sources say that Asante Samuel Jr. didn't visit with the Dolphins today. And I'll name them for you. Joe Shad, when has he ever broken anything? Alain Poupard, when has he ever broken anything? Never. These guys have never broken anything, but all of a sudden now you see them trying to counter the new media. Now, the big one was Barry Jackson. Now, obviously, Barry Jackson's broken stuff, but also, if we remember correctly, Barry Jackson's broken stuff long after I've already broken it on Patreon or to channel members on YouTube. But now, all of a sudden, oh, here we go. And let me tell you something. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a perfect example. Matthew Judon, okay? Matthew Judon came down for a visit yesterday. Barry Jackson reported out something to the effect of, oh, there's no deal in place, there's no contract in place, he's coming down here, blah, 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 blah. In fact, let me bring it up. I'll actually read it to you what he said. Because I'll counter this right now for you guys and show you that you can't believe everything they say just because they have legacy media. All right? So, let me bring it up here. Let me bring it up for a sec. Okay, this is what Barry Jackson tweeted out. Source confirms Judon visit today, but said there's no negotiated deal agreed to orally, in writing or anything. So for now, just a visit. Could potentially turn into a signing, but they would need to agree on a contract, and that has not happened. So I know that's only partially true. I know Judon came down here and the basic outline of the deal was agreed upon. They spent the rest of the day, all right? They spent the rest of the day negotiating the fine-tuned details of the contract. But the basic foundation, the basic outline, the bones of the contract had basically already been agreed upon. He came down, and that's why he came to Miami yesterday. He came down with the intent of, okay, we've agreed on the outline. I'm going to go down there. Let's sign the deal. Let's work out the finer details. That's what I know for a fact. So Judon didn't come down here for a visit with no discussion in place about what my money would look like, what the money could be. Judon came down here knowing what the money was going to look like. So I'm going to counter that right there. Right there, you're not being given the full truth. And listen, let's go deeper. This is what I heard, okay? So I'm going to tell you right now, I woke up 11:30 in the morning today in beautiful Los Alamos. And, I woke up at 11:30 and I wake up to people that I had a bunch of messages. All right. 2 of those messages were from people that were at camp today. Both of those people told me that the Miami Dolphins were having Asante Samuel Jr. in on a visit. So I had 2 different people there today telling me Asante Samuel Jr. was there in on a visit. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2, I call Bobby. I'll tell you exactly how the conversation between me and Bobby went. I'll tell you exactly how it went. This is literally verbatim how it went when I called Bobby. I said, Bobby. He picks up. I said, yo, Bobby, have you heard that the Dolphins have a corner in on a visit today? He says, yup. I said, have you heard that it's like me, that it's Asante Samuel Jr.? He says, yup. That's literally how it went. We hadn't talked him to this point. We had talked to our own independent sources who had told us that this was going down. So you're telling me and Bobby verify with our own people, with multiple of our own people, then come together, discuss it, and what? We're being taken on a ride around Miami right now? Like, what are people trying to tell us right now? Hey, 11:30. Last time I woke up at 11:30, brother? I haven't woke up at 11:30 since maybe Father's. Once a year, I can wake up at 11:30, and it's usually Father's Day. So now I will say this: the Stonehouse move, from everything I understand, because we're going to get into it, Ryan Stonehouse was released today, and Jake Bailey is the starting punter now. But I've heard the Stonehouse move is for Judon. That's not for an Asante Samuel addition. But I don't know what to tell everyone. I trust me and Bobby than I trust these guys in the media. Well, let's be real here. I was sitting here. Let's give you another example. I was sitting here since December, telling everyone, my patrons and my channel members, they are locked in on Kenneth Grant at 13. That is who they are targeting. That's what my updates were telling people since December. What ended up? Did you have any of these beat writers telling you that they're eyeing Kenneth Grant? No, you had beat writers telling you because of their mock draft that Kenneth Grant could be had in the second round. That's just one example. So, sorry, I'm going to stick by what me and Bobby heard independently. I'm just going to. I'm going to stand 10 toes down on it. If you want my real honest opinion on it, sounds like me and Bobby got some news that the Dolphins didn't want to get out, and like they tweet out, a league source confirmed. Okay, I can almost guarantee you, all right, I'll put my child's college tuition on the line that the league source is a high up in the Miami Dolphins office. I can almost guarantee you that they're hearing this from people high up in the Dolphins office. Why? Because they don't want it out. Because I was also told that Asante Samuel Jr. is cleared for contact. And they probably also don't want it leaking out because there's no agreement in place. We're probably, let's be honest here. If they're not willing to pay Rasul Douglas the money he wants, I can only imagine what A, Asante Samuel is asking for, and B, how they're not willing to come up. So, I mean, that's what I've heard on the situation. My first message was at 9 in the morning about this from someone that was there. I wasn't even awake. So, I don't know. Hey, believe who you want. All I know is I stand behind what me and Bobby heard, and me and Bobby's reporting. I stand behind it. So, I mean, and we can go back to this, Bobby himself, I mean, he broke news about draft visits that the beat didn't break until like a week or two later. And that's like a fact. So, and then you go back to, listen, if this was not true, why is Asante Samuel Sr. retweeting Bobby's report? Answer me this one. Why is the player's own dad retweeting it? Wouldn't his dad say this isn't true? Wouldn't his dad come through or at the least effort not even retweet it, just ignore it? Why is his dad retweeting it? I don't see his dad retweeting any of the beat writers' reports. So, by the way, I'm gonna figure out. I have a mic here. I don't know why it's not working. Why it wasn't working when I turned it on. I'm gonna figure that one out for sure. But because I don't like the audio that's coming through these AirPods. But yeah, I don't know what else to tell you guys. Me and Bobby are hearing something totally different, and we've heard it the whole time. We've heard it from our own sources, and then we came together. So I don't know. I know, and again, his dad has no reason to retweet it. His dad was like hating on us a couple of weeks ago on a podcast. Now his dad's retweeting it. So, I mean, this is what I've heard on the situation. Obviously, I don't think there's an agreement in place, but I do know he's cleared for contact. Yeah, I understand the concern too with a neck injury. I get all that. You know, I've said this before. With that kind of injury that he has, wrong contact the wrong way, and it could be, never mind end of the season, it could be end of the career. So that's that. That's what I know. That's what I've heard on Asante Samuel Jr. and that whole situation. We'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks, but I do think that cornerback help needs to be added here for sure. Will they add it? Only time will tell. I don't like what I've seen from certain guys like Kendall Sheffield. I haven't been a huge fan. Listen, I think I'm going to be wrong about Jason Marshall Jr. He looked good, especially out of the slot. So they might got something there for Jason Marshall Jr. But they need help. There's no way about it. I mean, look at us. Dolphin fans are so desperate for help at corner. We were doing backflips and cartwheels over what? A couple plays from Cam Smith? Right? So, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. So, yeah, keep it locked in. We'll figure it out. But, yeah, me and Bobby have both heard from different people that were there today that Asante Samuel Jr. did have a visit with the Miami Dolphins. You got the legacy old media trying to say that it didn't happen. We'll see. I'm standing 10 toes down on that. All right? So, now, after all that, the Miami Dolphins did have, and I will say this too. What other people are going to look at this strangely is you see me and Bobby hearing about this Asante Samuel Jr. thing, and then out of nowhere, they turned today into a closed practice and a walkthrough. So I know people are automatically going to assume and automatically going to point to that and say, is that the reason why they closed practice down to the public today? So we'll see. We'll see what happens and how it goes. But I know I can already see people are going to start pointing towards, well, why did they close practice all of a sudden to the public? And then when you hear what we've heard, people are going to start to try and put two and two together. So, we did have some good news today either way that's public. We know who the Colts are going to be starting this week. It's going to be either Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. Is that who we thought? Now they've confirmed it's going to be Daniel Jones in week 1. So we'll see how it happens. I do expect the Dolphins to handle business in week 1 against the Colts, though. So it don't matter if it's Daniel Jones, Mike Jones, don't matter. It's going down. So the Miami Dolphins, they did have a walkthrough today. All right. So let's go over the walkthrough and all the details from the walkthrough from today. All right. So we got that locked in for you. So let's get into that. So Jake Bailey has held off Ryan Stonehouse in the battle for the Dolphins punter job. Stonehouse was released Tuesday. His agent, John Perla, told the Miami Herald. The Dolphins confirmed later in the day that Bailey will be the Dolphins punter for a third consecutive season. Bailey won the job in part of his consistency in recent weeks. Special teams coordinator Greg Ackerman said, on 3 punts in preseason games, Bailey averaged 56 yards with an average net of 53. He placed 2 punts inside the 20. On his 3 punts in preseason games, Stonehouse averaged 43.3 yards with an average net of 40.3. He only placed 1 inside the 20. Keeping Stonehouse would have been cheaper. Neither punter has a guaranteed salary for this season, but Bailey is slated to make $1.95 million. That salary becomes fully guaranteed after the first week of the season. Stonehouse would have made $1.2 million if he had won the punter's job, but now won't pocket anything. His release leaves the Dolphins with a very modest $75,000 dead money cap hit. Stonehouse did lead the league in yards per punt in 2022 and 2023, averaging 53.1 each season. Stonehouse was coached those seasons by Ackerman, who replaced Danny Crossman as the Dolphins special teams coach this offseason. Ackerman said, hats off to both those guys. Really proud of them. I know Ryan will be punting somewhere in the National Football League. We just felt going forward, Jake would be our guy. Really happy with his consistency throughout camp, whether it's practice or preseason games. Last season, Bailey averaged about 47.1 yards per punt, which was 16th in the league after averaging 45.7 yards in Miami in 2023. In a significant measurement of net yards per punt, Stonehouse averaged 43.4 yards, 44.3 yards, and 38.3 yards the past seasons, while Bailey averaged 40.7 each of the past 2 seasons with Miami after joining the Dolphins following 4 years with New England. During the past 3 seasons, 33.3%, 52.8%, and 30.1% of Stonehouse's punts have landed inside the opponent's 20-yard line compared to 37.7% and 39.3% for Bailey in his 2 years in Miami. As far as touchbacks per punt are concerned, Stonehouse finished at 10%, 18.9%, and 9.6% in his 3 years in the league. Bailey was at 5.7% and then 8.9% in his past 2 years in Miami. So from practice today, the Dolphins, I thought it was going to wake up to rain. It was beautiful outside. Dolphins held a light indoor practice in their indoor facility at Miami Gardens. The team again opted not to activate tight end Darren Waller from the physically unable to perform list. Coach Mike McDaniel said Waller might be back this week. Waller has been back into game shape after a year in retirement. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, said on WSBN that he will be ready to contribute in the September 7th opener at the Colts. Running back Devon Achane did not participate, and McDaniel has said it's unlikely he'll participate in the final 2 preseason games. Receiver Tyreek Hill caught some passes from Machine and worked out alongside Achane. Jalen Phillips practiced after missing the past week with an undisclosed injury. Alec Ingold and linebacker Mo Kamara wore red non-contact jerseys. All right. So another thing I wanted to add too here, just kind of going back to that thing, just so you know, I know Barry Jackson was the first to try and counter the Asante Samuel. Barry Jackson wasn't even at practice today. I had people from practice telling me that this went down. So we'll see how that goes out. But in terms of the light walkthrough, I mean, not much to really talk about there. Just a walkthrough. Nice to see that Tyreek Hill is getting some workout, working out along Achan. He's probably going to be shut down. I don't see him. If anything, he's going to play against the Jags. But I don't even know if he's going to get that work in. So Jalen Phillips was back to practice today. That's a good thing. Now, Alec Ingold and Mo Kamara, they're both still in concussion protocol, but they're clearly going through the steps to get back to practice. So that's a big-time positive. I love what I'm hearing from them. So that's a great thing. I don't know. I know Stab Dog says I'm just confused. I thought, listen, I'll go back over it. Me and Bobby heard from our own people at camp this morning. I heard, I got a message at 9 o'clock this morning that Asante was there. So, now, are the Dolphins showing any interest in Brian Robinson Jr.? I don't expect them to trade for a back. I think their top three is pretty much locked in. It's going to be Achan, Wright, and Ollie Gordon. Now, could this mean Champlin or Mike Boone make the roster? Maybe, but I don't see them. I see them carrying only 3 running backs and a fullback because I think they are going to carry 6 wide receivers. If you want to check Stab Dog, go back a little bit, and I talked about the whole Asante Samuel thing for like 15 minutes. Go back to like the 15-minute mark, and then watch it. I talked about it for like 15 minutes, everything that I've heard. And I'm standing 10 toes down on what me and Bobby have reported. So I don't know what else to tell people right now. So, all right. Now, some more from today's live walkthrough, let's call it, all right? Because that's basically pretty much what it was. It's pretty much a walkthrough. So I'm going to get into that. This is what the Sun Sentinel said about today. All right. So the Sun Sentinel, the Dolphins, who have been on the road in Chicago and Detroit, practiced at their home facility Tuesday for the first time in almost 2 weeks. Practice was closed to fans. It's basically a walkthrough practice, meaning players went at half speed for the entire session. There was 11-11 red zone work and some 7-on-7 work. The players were in shells as opposed to full pads. Tenant Darren Waller, who was acquired June 30th and remains on the physically unable to perform list, was spotted on the sideline. He didn't work with trainers on the side or in front of the media. The Dolphins announced after practice that Ryan Stonehouse was waived, meaning Jake Bailey has won the punting battle. So there you go. Among those not participating in practice, Tyreek Hill, although we know that he took a little bit of work, Devon Achan, Kendall Sheffield, Dante Trader, Ethan Bonner, Daquan Jackson, Austin Jackson, Tariq Black, Baron Matos, Addison West, Andrew Meyer, Ashton Davis. Among those in red, no contact jerseys were Alec Ingold and Mo Kamara, obviously both in concussion protocol right now. Zeke Biggers, he went ahead. He had a tackle for a loss against Jalen Wright in a red zone drill. Biggers is coming off a strong performance in Chicago and Detroit. Elijah Campbell, who left the Chicago game with apparent injury and didn't play against Detroit, had a sleeve on his right leg. Tua Tagovailoa hit Jalen Waddle for a touchdown in a red zone drill with Minka Fitzpatrick as the closest defender. Tagovailoa sustained 2 coverage sacks as the pass coverage showed good skills. D. Eskridge, who's had a strong camp, dropped a touchdown pass in the end zone. Nothing is certain, but Eskridge has likely earned a roster spot. Zach Wilson fired a nice low pass to Farrell Brown in the red zone drill. Hayden Rucci dropped a pass from Wilson near the goal line. Wilson threw an incomplete pass of short distance, but defensive holding was called by a referee. Quinn Ewers threw a touchdown pass to Aaron Champlin in red zone drills. Stock up, again, secondary. It was a glorified walkthrough, but they had a few snapshots of good coverage, likely causing sacks or throwaways from Tagovailoa. Stock down, none. This was basically a cleanup day for the things that gave the offense and defense problems against Chicago and Detroit. Now remember, I will be at practice tomorrow. I will also be at the joint practice on Thursday, as long as they don't, as long as they don't cancel anything or close the practices off, I will be there. All right. So I will be able to give you my firsthand notes and experience and everything that I see. So keep it locked in. All right. Got you there. Don't worry. I'm obviously I'm gonna clean up the audio issues for tomorrow too, but I was already late going live today and I wanted to get this live for you guys. Basically the AirPods were the last resort because I don't know why the mic was not working, but it wasn't, it wasn't. We'll do another quick test here. Let me know in the chat right now. Let me know in the chat. Can you hear that? Can you hear me? Can you hear me right now? Let me know if the audio is working because it looks like it's registering in the chat. And let me know if this sounds cleaner right now. If this sounds cleaner than the AirPods. Let me know. Does this sound cleaner than the AirPods? Let me know in the chat. Sounds much better, eh? Okay, so there you go. We figured out the mic problem a little bit while we were live with you guys. Better figuring it out now than not figuring it out later, right? So got that one figured out. Nice and clean. There you go. All right, so we'll be better for tomorrow. I'll have it all set up. We'll be good to go tomorrow. I'll have it all good for training camp reports. But this is basically everything that I've heard on Asante Samuel Jr. I mean, choose to believe who you want. It doesn't really. I'm just reporting. My whole job here is to report to you guys what I hear. That's my whole thing. All right, because I remember when I was just a guy and just someone in the chat on YouTube or just someone on X roaming and looking for as much info as I can find. There's been plenty of instances where I've been right more than I've been wrong, and same can be said for Bobby. Bobby is a lot more right than he is wrong. So, I mean, take it for what it's worth. That's up for you guys to figure it out. Believe whoever you want to believe. I'm not here to sway you guys in either direction. I'm just here to tell you guys what I know, what I've heard, and that's it. All right. So, yeah, we will. I will be live over the next. I got to go back to this other audio. This is whacking out for me. I will be live over the next 2 days after joint practice. All right. So make sure you keep it locked in. I will keep you guys updated on everything I see at joint practice. All right. So keep it locked in. I appreciate all of you guys coming through. Over 550 of you in the room. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new. And yeah, I will check you guys out on the next one. I'll be live probably in the afternoon. One of the 2 days, over the next 2 days, we have a tour of the Hard Rock Stadium. So, and hey, we're only about 40 away from 18K. So if you're new here, smash that like button and turn off on the bell for notifications whenever I go live. All right. I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate each and every one of you for coming through, and I will see you on the next one. Until then, fins up all day, every day.